Greetings everyone, Arcimedes here, and welcome back to another brick-filled Lego video. Today, we're going to be doing a my own creation spotlight of my latest creation, a pachinko machine. Now, your first question is probably, Arci, what is a pachinko machine? For lack of a better word, a pachinko machine is kind of like a Japanese pinball game. I can explain further here with words, but why don't we just take a look at the one that I've designed. Here is my pachinko machine. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that it's covered in black Technic pins. They're actually the 1x3 pins. Anyways, the pins are scattered across the board in a symmetrical pattern. You'll also notice 3 jackpots, here, here, and here. And you'll notice a launcher, similar to the one you might see on a pinball machine. In an actual pachinko machine, little metal balls are launched at a very fast speed throughout the machine, bouncing off the pegs and ending up in the little jackpots, or in the bottom, down here. Every time you hit a jackpot, a set of reels at the top, similar to a slot machine, spin randomly. If you can get all the symbols on all the discs lined up, then you win $1 million, or something like that. Actually, it's a little more complicated than that, but we'll just stick with that definition for now. For my personal Lego model of a pachinko machine, I knew I needed the same details. So, a whole scattered array of symmetrical pins, a couple jackpots, some sort of ball launching device, and some sort of slot machine device. I started designing this model in my head. I decided that I would use Lego bricks placed on their side, as you can see like this, so that I wouldn't have to worry about making a giant flat expanse to roll the ball on, and also so that I could use Lego Technic crossover beams to hold the pachinko pins. I decided that I would use a blue and light gray striped color scheme for the base, mostly because almost all of my Technic crossover beams are light gray, and then decided to add an extra detail by writing the words LEGO in yellow. Started building by laying out the grid of pins and crossover beams. I then recreated the entire set of pins using the blue, gray, and yellow base colors. Then I designed the jackpots and the sides using a set of Lego tubes at the top to create the curved arch onto which the ball would circle. I then added the decorative elements at the top to cover up the unsightly tubes. With that frame complete, I still had to make the ball launcher and the slot machine-esque device. I'd already decided that I would use either these metal ball bearings or these wooden balls as the ball for the pachinko machine. Since the metal balls were incredibly heavy, I realized that I would have to come up with some severely powerful mechanism to smack the balls up and around the machine. I finally decided to use these Technic suspension pieces, which I had in my Lego collection already. Now, these have an incredibly powerful spring, which really has a great kick. And so, I decided that they would be perfect for the launching mechanism of my machine. As I started designing the launching mechanism, I realized, though, that even with the incredible strength of these suspension pieces, it was just not enough to hit these balls far enough to launch them up the track. I decided to double the power, sticking 2 pieces together to add an extra oomph. I figured out how to make the actual launcher itself, but I now had the problem of trying to fit it into my model and make it easy to push the springs back so you could launch the ball. I started out by clipping the 2 springs together like this and sticking an axle of sorts, which I could pull back to launch the balls. However, as I began taking a closer look trying to integrate this sort of design into my model, I noticed that these suspension pieces would turn forwards or backwards or side to side as I pulled back on the springs. I realized that if I put these springs through too much strain, I might snap the whole Lego piece. and that would be a true and total waste. The springs had their greatest tendency to bend when turning side to side, so I decided to ditch the sideways pull method and decided to change things up a little bit. I decided to try a frame that would have a pull at the top, which would push back the springs like this, which could be then used to launch the ball here. But this design suffered from the same difficulty. When you pulled back on the lever to try to pull the springs, they would bend backwards instead of pulling the smasher back. I puzzled around for quite some time trying to figure out what I could do to avoid this problem, when suddenly inspiration hit. A simplified version of my completed frame looked something like this. Now, this one looks very similar to the previous model, with one exception. As you notice, the pulling lever is looped around the bottom as opposed to at the top. In the previous model, pulling the lever would smash the suspension upwards. However, in this model, when the lever was pulled, the suspension would bend downwards, as you can see here. But, since the plunger was flush with the chute that the ball would launch through, when the suspension tried to bend down, the plunger would be stopped by the flatness of the bottom there. This concept worked brilliantly. After making a quick Technic frame around the completed concept, I clipped it into my model and smiled with satisfaction. Now, let's take a look at the slightly more technically interesting back side of the model. First of all, here is the Technic frame which holds the model up at an angle. As you can see, it's made up of a combination of crossover Technic beams and normal Technic beams. I used a lot of triangles, as you can see here, here, and on the other side, because it's a very strong shape, and it helps brace up your models. On the back of the frame, I have this set of connectors, which hold the two sides together. As you can see here, I have, once again, a combination of normal and crossover Technic beams, which are all attached together by a series of Lego plates. I just wanted to do this to show you that you can integrate the two systems together in extraordinary and often very powerful ways. The actual table part of the model weighs quite a lot, and using ordinary Lego stilts just wouldn't hold it up, nor would it hold it in the right angle. But using these Technic beams, both normal and crossover, you're able to make a very strong frame, which can hold its weight easily. As you might know in your Technic building a giant wall of Lego bricks is fairly sturdy, but as you know, it can often snap at the joints like this. To counteract this problem, I used Technic beams, attaching them by pins to the back of the machine. These provided a bracing to hold the table in place so that it couldn't snap or bend. I still had one problem though. In the actual Pachinko game, there was a slot machine, which would spin randomly when a ball was launched through a jackpot. If the right balls ended up in the right holes, the slot machine would give you a jackpot, and you'd get ruthlessly rich. Now, I had a brilliant idea for how to make this whole slot machine thing, with rotating reels and a working jackpot and all that kind of fun stuff. Unfortunately, as I began looking at my calendar, I realized that I just simply didn't have enough time to make that design and integrate it into my model before it became this Sunday, when I needed to post the model. So I had to come up with a slightly different approach, but I'll explain that bit a little bit more in a little bit. Right now, let's just take a look at how the gameplay works. Now, I designed this game with two modes, so to speak. There is a just for fun mode and a quote-unquote, of course, gambling mode. Now, please, don't be turned off by the word gambling. All I mean is that you can make a guess as to which balls end up in which jackpots. We'll start out with the non-guessing mode. you're given a tray with 10 balls, you can see here. Take a ball and plop her in the machine, pull back on the plunger, which launches it up, and hope like crazy it ends up in a jackpot, which it didn't. Just because I designed the game doesn't mean I'm much good at it. Thank goodness for behind the camera editing. 9 tries later, yes! As you can see, when the ball went through the jackpot, it rolled through and it ended up down here. When doing this in the first mode, your goal is just simply to line up as many balls as you can in the 3 bottom jackpots. The purple, the green, and the orange. When you want to pull the balls out, you just simply slide these frames forwards and get them out with ease. Okay, that's simple enough if you're lucky. But now let's talk about the slightly more complicated guessing mode. This time, you are given a tray with 15 balls. 5 green, 5 orange, and 5 purple. As well as that, you're given 3 markers. An orange marker, a purple marker, and a green marker. When you look down here at the jackpots, you'll see that there's a point on which you could stick one of these markers. Now, what you will do is place a marker on whatever spot you think will end up with that color ball at the top. So in other words, if you place an orange marker here, you are guessing that no matter what balls fall into that tube, an orange ball will always be at the top. See? So let's try this mode, shall we? I'm going to guess that a green ball will end up as the top ball in the far left jackpot, an orange one in the middle, and a purple one on the right. Now this time, when the balls have finished their path, if they haven't fallen into a jackpot and end up in the V down here, you can simply take them back and relaunch them. Alright, let's just play a little, shall we? I'm going to start out with a purple ball. Stick her in here. Now, these balls are wood, which means that this spring system doesn't have to work as hard to launch it all the way up. So I barely have to tap it, and the ball will go flying up. Finally, on the 4th try, with the purple ball, I got one! And it's in the purple jackpot, no less. Let's try again, shall we? Let's launch the ball, and no. Finally, on the 3rd try, the green ball, we make it, and the green ball ends up into the green slot. We're doing really good, aren't we? Many launches later, finally, I launched my last ball and got it in the jackpot. So let's take a look at our results, shall we? We'll pull out the green one. The first thing you'll notice is that the top ball is orange. So thus, we did not win green. However, if you take a look at the orange one and pull it out, you'll see that there is an orange ball at the top. So we won the middle one. If you pull the purple one out, you can see a purple one at the top. So we won purple too. So, since I gambled, or guessed, that orange would end up as the top for the middle, and purple would end up as the top for the right, I was partially right. I almost won. For today, we took a look at my latest Technic, my own creation, a pachinko machine. Now, I think there's a lesson that can be learned from the construction of this video, and that is this. You just simply don't stumble upon the right ideas all the time for the first time. When you build with Legos, and Lego Technic in particular, you often will find yourself having to build and rebuild concepts, prototyping designs. Just when you're building a Technic model, be prepared to be patient with your design. Don't expect all your ideas to come together in the first couple moments. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you liked this video, and I hope you liked my model. I hope that it was interesting, or informative, or at least that it entertained you for a little while. If you did in fact like this video, please comment, rate, or subscribe. If you didn't like this video, still please comment and rate. If you want, please subscribe too. I would like to hear what you think. What would make this channel different or better? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you all farewell. My name is Arcimedes36, and I'll see you next Sunday.